Welcome to episode number 15 of the WWIM podcast. That's WWIM podcast, Women Who Inspire Me. Our guest today is the smart, beautiful, talented, hilarious Katy Coughlin. Thank you so much for being on.
Thanks. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. It's
So,
a good intro.
Share your life story with us. Growing up in Lowell, what's that all about?
So I'm from Lowell. I grew up there, and I still live there now with my parents. Yeah. Where do I start with this?
Childhood memories, major life events. School. What's school like in Lowell?
I was like fine at school.
Yeah.
I didn't try super hard. I was whatever. Yeah.
Class clown?
No, I didn't think I was funny until like college,
Okay.
I would say. And then college people were saying like, "Oh, you're funny."
Yeah.
And I liked that. I liked being the funny friend. I didn't think that in high school at all. And I definitely was not really like a class clown, I would say. It more came to me from just like a lot of watching stand-up comedy.
When did you start getting into that?
High school and college. Okay, and I hate people do this all the time being a comedian, but people are like, who's your favorite stand-up?
Yeah.
I hate that question because it always changes.
Right.
And like it can change from like 1 hour to a next, like
Depending
different
on the mood.
things. Yeah.
Same as music.
Like more just like I like Ali Wong's first special. That's like probably the thing that has inspired me the most.
Okay.
But I don't like her second one. So
Yeah.
it's like also my favorite comedian was Louis C.K. So
Has
I don't
that changed?
I don't pick a favorite
Have you boycotted
comedian
him
anymore.
or?
I'm considering going back on my boycott.
Okay. So you did.
But he was like my first favorite comedian in high school.
Okay.
And then in college I was like depressed and would just watch a lot of stand up, and then I started watching interviews with them, and if they said they started and it was an age that was younger than me, I would get mad. And I was like, oh, why am I getting mad about this?
Yeah.
I should just do it. So then I started writing, and I was like, well, I don't have to show anyone this. So I wrote for like 2 years before I went on stage, and I was just in college, and I would like secretly test them on my friends. If like I had like a whole bus joke that I don't think I've ever performed, but I just did it for all my friends in college. So yeah, I don't have a favorite stand-up.
About like riding on a bus?
Yeah.
Or,
yeah.
With strangers
like,
or a school bus? Or?
Like it's like if there's no one on the bus versus if I get a seat on the bus versus if I'm standing on the bus. Like everything's crowded if I'm standing, whereas if I'm sitting, I'm like, this is so nice. I'm on the bus. This is a lovely journey. It's probably, I don't think it's that funny, which is why I haven't done it on stage. But it was good. Like I was comparing things. It made sense. But yeah, I was like devastated with the Louis C.K. thing.
Well, I mean, at his prime, he was ripping out one a year. And they were all good.
And his last special was like amazing. Yeah. So I was like crying. I was not well when that went down.
When your heroes, when they fall, it's tough.
Yeah,
it's
and
tough
it was
to
during
handle.
like the Me Too Cosby era. So it felt like it was a lot, hindsight now. I'm like, okay, maybe he's not completely evil, but yeah, it was so depressing at the time.
Did you get up on stage, perform at all in high school? Do any of that? Okay.
No, I was in like one play in middle school, like a YMCA summer production, and I didn't have like a real. I think I sang the Ajax theme with my sister because it was like a game show musical, so we had like commercials. And that was like what I did. And then I was in some group numbers. But I would like put on shows with my cousins. Like I would force them to we would have like a talent show.
Nice.
And I would either like Irish step dance or.
Did you take lessons?
Yeah, I did. I did it in
forcefully
middle school.
or.
No, I liked it. Like I wanted to, but I was so lazy. Like when I started hard shoe, it was like you would do the soft shoe and then the hard shoe, and it was like 2 hours, and I was so tired. I was like, I don't want to do this hard shoe shit
Did you
anymore.
wear the fancy dresses too?
Kinda. Yeah. It was like a dance studio with like ballet and other stuff too, so it wasn't like here's your curly wig and like weird Celtic outfit. But yeah, dance recitals were so weird because it's all little girls and they force you into like a slicked back bun and like red lipstick. So everyone looks crazy. Yeah. It was terrible. And then I also played piano and I didn't practice that at all and was terrible at it. And so recently, I don't know if you've seen it, but they're having a comedy contest in Westford. And so it's at this place where I had a piano recital. So I was like, I have to sign up for this. Because also, it was the one time, this is also possibly why I do stand up, is I had a piano recital. My mom was away. She was at my cousin's wedding. And my dad was coming, bringing my grandmother. But he was coming for my brother's baseball game. So he missed my performance. And so I got off stage and I was like, I think I said to like my friend, I'm like, was my dad here? And he was like, I didn't see him. And I was like, okay. And then my dad came up to me and he was like, I'm so sorry. And he felt really bad. And then I started crying and it was a whole thing.
Yikes.
And then my grandmother got out of the car and I'm crying and I'm very upset. And she turns before she leaves and she goes, I hope you're not blaming me for this. And then just shuts the door.
Nice. Nice.
Like, this had nothing to do with you, but okay.
Do you remember what song you played?
I think it was from Snow White. I think it was like a Disney song that I picked. Yeah. Probably played it badly. I did not practice.
Do you still play it? Do you play it?
No. She'd be like, are you practicing? I'd be like, yeah. And I was lying. I never did. Never. I was not good at it. So yeah.
So this contest is at the same venue.
Same place.
What's the name?
Same
place.
Name of the place? It's like the parish center of
Westford.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah,
like
I
a
told
church, so it's related to a church. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I told my mom, like, I'm signing up for this. She's like, I'm like, I'm going to tell Dad the wrong time again and have him miss me again.
Did you grow up going to Catholic church and that whole deal?
Yeah. So my grandmother was really, both sets of grandparents were religious, like really into it. But my parents just kind of did it for them. Yeah. So we would like go to CCD. But I was thinking about this when they moved CCD from Tuesday nights to Sundays. They were like, we're doing this anymore.
So it's convenient. Not like, convenient, so we're done.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And we would complain all the time if we had to go to CCD, like, because we would go to my grandparents' house after church, and that was like the most fun thing. Right. And so if we missed that, it was like tragic. I hated that. But yeah, then my mom kind of was disillusioned, I think, by the whole church thing. So she didn't really make us go. The
child rapings, or was it?
Yeah. It kind of, she was like, I don't know about all this. It didn't really take with her. So I remember we have Easter every year and it's like a brunch. And my parents went to like 7:00 mass and then they sent me and my siblings to 9:00 and I'm driving us. And I think I was in high school or college and I was like, we're not going to church right now. And my sister's so anxious. She was just like, I think, what do you mean? And I was like, we're going to drive around right now. And my brother was like 15. He didn't have a permit yet or anything. I was like, Pat's going to drive. He's going to practice. And she was like,
we're going to make use of this time.
Yeah, exactly. And she was like, well, not on the road. I'm like, we'll go to a cemetery, like literally relax. I'm like, well, you want to go to church right now? No one's taking attendance here. Yeah. They're not going to notice. Like, I'm certainly, I will hate myself if I go to church and I don't have to.
I was an altar boy for 10 years.
Oh my God.
Right? But it actually helped mass go back faster.
Did you make it out okay?
No, nothing happened.
Oh, okay.
And
I probably shouldn't just casually ask if someone got raped. That's a bit much.
But all of my church involvement was not for godly reasons. Even to this day, like I was an altar boy because they let us go on fun trips. Oh. I was in the youth church group because I liked a girl that was in it. I go to church twice a year now because it makes my mom happy. It has nothing to do with God.
No. I got confirmed.
Yeah.
And I think I like kind of pushed back for a second. I was like, do I really have to do this? And my mom was like, yep. Like she was like, we're not discussing this. You're doing it. Nana was still alive. So I'm like, fine. And then I picked my Uncle Joe as my sponsor, who's not religious at all. Like I don't know if I've seen him in a church. Like he never faked it for a second, but I picked him just to be funny, and I was deciding my name, and I'm like, what if I do Lucy, because she's like the saint of the blind, and I like basically have horrible eyesight. And he was like, that's a stupid reason. And I was like, what if I'm Catherine Mary, and he was just getting mad at me. So I picked Elizabeth because it sounded nice, and he wouldn't let me be Catherine Mary Catherine. And I really wanted to. I wish I did.
I picked Michael because my grandfather was David Michael Hayes. I'm David Hayes McGrath. So I wanted his whole name in my name. I have nothing to do with Saint Michael.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Good old confirmation.
Did you get any good presents anyway?
No.
No money? Nothing? I'm
know.
always looking for like what I get. With the church, I'm like, what do I get out of it?
I don't even think we had a party for me. It was
what?
just, yeah.
Oh, jeez.
I know. Just went home afterwards.
Do you go to church for Christmas? Like, are you?
Now we don't.
No.
Well, it's been since COVID.
Yeah.
They gave up.
Yeah.
They're like, we're not.
My parents kept going online during COVID. They have not.
They're committed.
They drove up to Canada on their honeymoon and stopped and went to mass on the way.
Oh my God.
Right?
You know what's weird is I have aunts like that. So I just went to Charleston to visit my sister, and I woke up at like 9 or 10, whatever it was, and no one was in the house. And so I texted her, I'm like, where did everyone go? And my aunt was like, we're at church. I'm like, oh. And then my mom texted me separately. She's like, your sister and I have donuts, we're coming back. And I was like, oh, okay. You guys, you didn't go, did you? She's like, no, on vacation, going to church. I did have to go when we were at the beach a couple times, like at Seabrook, which was strange.
Seabrook, New Hampshire?
Yeah, my parents have a house there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
nice.
so
That's cool.
Go there every summer. Have my friends there. It's fun.
That's right near Hampton, right?
Yep. Yeah, right in between Hampton and Salisbury. So I went to I was going so a bunch of my friends, we were going to the beach, and they were like, I was like, okay, we can park at my parents' house, whatever, it's easy. But I didn't wake up early enough, so they were like, oh, we're actually going to Hampton, like Jeunesse. So I'm driving, I'm trying to find parking, and I'm getting so annoyed. I'm like, why did they do this? They could have just parked in my house. Why am I searching for parking right now? And my boyfriend at the time just started singing, you're a rich girl, and you come and just I'm like, no, he's like, you're spoiled. You've never had to look for parking at the beach. I'm like, no. I'm like, why do people do this?
Hampton Beach was actually one of the altar boy trips that we would take.
Oh God.
But well, I loved it. I didn't care about the beach. It was just all the arcades, the boardwalk. So I was go to the beach and just be in playing video games all day.
That is fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hampton's fun. Hampton's fun to people watch.
Oh,
to this day.
Of course. It's the best.
That's not so Lowell. How far is it from Lowell?
Like 40 minutes.
Yeah, it's not far.
It's really close. Yeah, I've been to the Cape like under 10 times. When people talk about the Cape, I'm like, I don't know.
Did you go to ULowell too? Did you?
No, I went to UMass Amherst.
Yeah, oh.
I hated it. Well, everyone's like, oh, party school, it's so fun. Yeah, it's fun when you visit. It's not fun
when it's around you
every
all the time.
week. And do you know why everyone drinks out there? Because there's nothing to do. There's nothing
Well, that's why
on.
I mean, like the small western towns in Massachusetts all have drinking problems with the teenagers because they go out in the woods and get wasted because what else are you going to do?
Oh, we go to Northampton for the day? Like, great. We can walk. It's not, but it's not great. It's like, oh, we can go to the botanical garden. Like, I don't know. It was just it felt like a wasteland out there. I'm going to be honest. It was like a weird city, but with no diversity or like, I don't know. It got to me by the end. I was there 3 years, so.
Any comedy there? Was there ever any shows?
There was an open mic I went to, but I didn't do anything. Were
you writing at that time, though?
Yeah.
Okay. So when was the first?
February 2019. It was at Laugh Boston, and I had gone like the week before just to watch.
Yeah,
and
smart.
Then. Had
you read any books, like done any research, or just written and ready to perform?
Just written.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I looked up some stuff, but I mean, every other comedian's like, there's no rules and like, I don't know. So I kind of just did my own thing with it. But yeah, I was a psycho. I wrote every single word that I was going to say on stage, and it was like snowing And yeah, so now when people ask like, oh, how long have you been doing comedy? I'm like, I don't know how to count it because I had only been doing it for a year when the world shut down.
Right.
So, but I also feel like I am further ahead of people than those who started post-pandemic. Because also I was writing for most of the pandemic. That was awful. I hated that, not performing. It sucked.
Yeah, it wasn't a fun time in general.
No, and it took, like, once stuff was open mics still weren't. Like, there was certain rules, you know? Like, you could go to see a comedian, but you couldn't have 30 people touch one microphone still. Right. So that's when I was living in Lowell, and they used to have this open mic at Warp and Weft in Lowell, and it was mixed. It was comedy and music, and it was really fun. And that was like the first place when I started where I felt cool doing comedy, because I was like the only female comedian at this open mic. So I would walk in and they'd be like, oh, you're the comedian. I'd be like, yeah, you know. So it was, and then I basically badgered the owners about getting the open mic back, and they were like, we're not going to do that. But we'll let you perform. So it was the two owners doing like lovely songs on the piano, like just a nice dinner performance. And then I got up there for my first set in like a year and just ate it. I was like shaking. It was rough.
Was it worse than how did your first one go?
My first one was probably better than that.
Oh.
Yeah. My first one wasn't bad. It wasn't great.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. I didn't bomb. I got some laughs, so.
I made the mistake. I did my first one, and it went, okay, good. And then I was like, okay, well, if I come back here in a couple weeks, all these comics are going to be here. I can't do the same stuff. So I did an entirely new 5 minutes. And I was and then someone's like, no, you should just work on your first 5.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I remember, I mean, I think I had seen enough people doing similar stuff that I was like, oh, it's okay.
Right.
To do the same stuff, but I definitely have had that like fear of repeating myself too much, and so eventually I started working at Warp and Weft. I was working at a different restaurant, and they were like, you want a job here? And I was like, hell yeah. All they knew about me was my horrible jokes. They were literally...
What's the name of this place? Warp and Weft?
Warp and Weft.
In Lowell.
Yeah, so it's mills, so textile terms. Yeah. That's where they come from. No, everyone...
I heard Lowell was a textile mill town.
One time I was working, and a girl was like, why is it called Warp and Weft? And I was like, oh, they're like textile terms. And she was like, no, I know that. And I was like, oh, okay. And then she was like, but why here? And I was like, well, and then I'm like, oh, the mills. And she was like, I'm not from around here. And I was like, oh, I'm like, see, most people don't know the textile terms. And once I say that, they're like, oh, got it. But she was like, why about weaving? Like, why is this here? But anyways, yeah, all they knew about me was like I had a joke about cum in my hair, and they were like, we should hire her. So I was like,
it's a pretty low bar.
I know, right? I'm like, I could be a psychopath. You literally know nothing about me. You're just like, her vibe's good. Let's hire her. So I started working there, and I weaseled my way into like performing 2 times a week there. So I would perform during trivia, and then on Thursdays before the band. So like they'd have a trivia night, and you go after break, and in the middle of trivia.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so they would have a break, and I would do like 5-7 minutes. But I was always working during it. So I would be serving people I would be serving people food, and then just be like, all right, here's my jokes. And
so you were technically a professional comedian.
Technically I was being paid for all of it.
Yeah.
It was when it was good, it was great, because like people would, you know, tip me better or write on my receipt like, oh my god, you were so funny, and I would take a picture of it every time. But when it was bad, it was real bad. I'd have to walk past every table and just be like, that was rough. And like,
would you do trivia themed jokes at all, or just your regular?
Just my regular stuff. But because I was performing there twice a week, I felt like I had to change it up all the time.
Right.
Because also people would
it's all the same people, right?
Yeah, people would come up to me and be like, I could do your whole act. I'm like, hey, fuck you. No, you couldn't. Right. You know some of it. Like, I don't know. It was just annoying. But yeah, it was rough. It definitely made me a lot tougher with it. There was one night where 2 people called me brave. They were both like, that was
afterwards.
Yeah, they were like, that was really brave. I'm like, okay,
not you were funny, not thank you.
No, just you're brave. But I figured out like ways to get around it. Like I'd be like, I'm sorry, I know this is awkward. Like you're eating a pastrami sandwich, I'm talking about my pussy. Like, so
those don't go together.
Yeah, exactly. But you know,
people always tell me I could never do that. I could never. And it's like, well, if you say that, then yeah.
Right. I kind of like when people say that. I'm like, you're right.
Yeah, you're right.
You couldn't.
You couldn't.
It annoys me more when they're like, I think I could do it. I'm like, then go fucking do it. I don't.
Yeah, right.
I don't feel like encouraging people ananymore.
I met this guy in Ireland and he was so funny. I was like, dude, you have to do, like, just please for me, do stand up. And he was like, oh, what would that, like, you know, just had never thought about it. I'm like, dude, you're one of the funniest people I've ever met. Like,
well, yeah, but sometimes that doesn't even mean that they'll be good on stage.
True,
like,
very true. Like,
good storyteller.
Like Office funny.
Yeah. I don't know. It's different.
Right.
But
very different. But it's a skill, you know, being quick-minded is definitely a skill that helps.
Yeah. It's funny. So my cousin, I never knew it till I started, but my cousin had done stand-up a couple times and like did like a last comic standing contest and like came in second.
Whoa.
So he always like, he tries to help me out sometimes, but it's annoying because sometimes
he's done. He doesn't do it anymore.
But he'll always be like, oh, I should get back into it. And I'm like, yeah.
Do it.
I'm like, I'm not banging on your door to do it.
Buddy
but
Chris, he's sent me like 3 Facebook messages, ones that are open mic, and I'm like, do it. And like,
nothing.
No. He's like, I'm ready. I'm like, okay, here's I'm going to be here.
Or they're like, I need to get my material together. I'm like, get it together. I don't. Okay. But yeah, he'll always have like notes for other people that he'll tell me, and I'm like, you cannot keep talking shit about this many comedians unless you get up and do it again, because it's been 10 years since you performed. You can't act like you're still an expert because you won a 2002 last comic standing in Springfield. Just kidding. I love him if you're listening.
So we've kind of heard like what got you into stand-up. So at what point does being a paraeducator, when did that enter the scene? Or do you not even want to talk about it?
I don't even want to talk about it. It makes me so angry that I'm working in a school. I hate that I'm a teacher. I went to school to be a teacher, and then I started subbing, and I was like, this is hell. I don't want to do this.
Do you think it's that, or you just haven't found the right?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter what group of kids you just don't want.
No, I've worked with the dumb ones and the smart ones. They all suck. I just don't think I have the right. I can't filter myself enough to be a teacher.
Yeah,
I can't.
It's a hard skill.
Yeah,
that for me, being around kids and then all other women. So I have like 2 things.
I mean, subbing was like going great for me, and then I turned 26 and needed health insurance, and all the teachers were like, you should get a job here, and I listened to them because I'm an idiot, and now I'm there and I hate it. So
but a steady income, I mean,
I guess
not worth it. Not even worth it. It's not that much.
I mean, made more as a sub.
Yeah.
So it's not great, but I'd rather be at a restaurant.
But at least stories. Good stories. No?
Yeah, but then I kind of feel guilty when I'm talking about. I see the same kid every day, and I'm like, the time you called me bad breath works really well on stage. I don't tell him that. I don't feel like giving him praise.
What's their high school?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a tough age, no matter what skill or emotional behavioral issue.
I liked coaching field hockey. That was fun. Because I don't know. You can be a little more looser with them, and I'm like, I'm a coach. I can be an asshole to you guys. I'm making you tougher.
You could be I'm an asshole to the first graders if they deserve it.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't swear.
Oh, I swear. I told a kid the other day he wrote something in math, and I was like, that looks like shit. You need to rewrite it. So I need to get out of there. It's not good.
One of the kids I worked with he's done this a couple times the other day. He fakes a cough. He goes, bless you. I'm like, listen, first of all, you don't say bless you when you cough. Secondly, you don't do it to yourself. It's for a sneeze when someone else does it.
So weird.
Yeah, right.
When I was subbing last year, I was at the same elementary school a lot. And there was this one kid, and I wrote this joke about what had happened. So basically, I'll tell you the story because it doesn't work on stage. We were going around in a circle, and all the kids were saying what their favorite food was. And so they're like, good morning, my name is this, and my favorite food is French fries. And that was like 90%.
Yeah,
they're all like chicken tenders,
and
fries. And then one girl goes, my favorite food's cake. And I'm like, great. I love that you said something different, unique. And one kid goes, cake is not food.
Oh.
And I was like,
something you heard from mom and dad, I bet.
Yes, exactly. Like he, chunky little kid who had to be told a couple times, cake is not food. And so I'm like, cake is food. And we're going to move on. Next kid, what's your favorite food? Cake. Genius. What a little genius. And now the kid's losing. He's like, cake is not food. Cake is candy. It's dessert. And I'm like, actually, cake is dessert and dessert is a food.
Right.
And therefore, we're going to count that. And he like...
It counts, kid.
He was having a full conniption by the time the like actual teacher got back in the room. And I was... And she's like, what's going on? And I was like... He's upset that she said cake is food, and she looks at him and goes, I'm really sorry, Joseph, but cake is food and you're just going to have to accept that.
That's some hardcore brainwashing, though, is what that was.
I know.
Wow.
But that's not even the kid's name, and I changed his name to Joseph, and then I called him that in school one day. I was like, Joseph, and he's like, that's not my name. And I was like, oh,
it is on stage.
Right. Yeah. Well, that is not your name. Yeah. My bad, kid. Sorry. And then I like turned to a teacher who knows me. I'm like, I made up his name for a joke. So
I love it when I'll tell kids things and they just won't believe me. Like when I told them that the sun was a star, and none of them, they're like, no, it's not.
That's
like,
so funny.
Right? Like concepts that I can barely understand. Right?
Yeah. I was reading them. They were in second grade, and I was reading them a book about apples, and it said apples are like 2 million years old or something wild. And someone goes, apples are as old as Jesus. And I go, apples are older than Jesus. And they all looked at me like, what did you just say? And I was like, you know, we're going to move on. We're going to move on. That's not important right now, actually. Just forget about it. I don't want to be talking about Jesus in public school.
Yeah, separation of church and apples.
Adam and Eve, guys. Come on. Obviously, it's before Jesus.
Kids will also say, I'll be like, I know everything. And I'll just be like, oh, really? What's Chewbacca's home planet called? I don't know. Exactly. You don't know everything.
You own them with fictional knowledge.
Yeah, yes.
Nice.
Hey, if you know everything, you know all the fake stuff, too.
True. That's true. That's a good point. Makes sense.
So you're a paraeducator, you're getting these stories. At what point you did an open mic, COVID hit?
Yeah.
So then what kind of swept you to where you are now? Like you just started doing tons and tons of mics?
I just really, really wanted to do stand-up again, and I was so sad.
Yeah.
And I was also like trying to go back to school to like finish and get my degree, and then COVID hit, and I was like, I don't want to do this. I'm like,
that would
could
have made it
die.
easy though to do it online. No,
I hate
Easier?
online classes. I can't do it myself. I need like in person. See, that's what everyone says is they're like, well, if you didn't skip class, like I didn't skip any classes. I showed up every day. It's when they tell you go home and write a paper that I'm like, I can't do that.
Even
I'm very
if you have a
social.
due date?
It doesn't matter.
No.
I can change that due date. Also, I'm such a procrastinator. Like I can get it done, or I can just not. I don't know. I don't. I don't.
You
like
don't tell
school.
yourself you have to get it done.
I tell myself I can do it in the last 2 hours, and then the 2 hours come, and I'm like, nah, it's not gonna happen. And that's pretty much my process. So
do you
then I just moved out of my parents like May of 2020, and I was living in an apartment and working at a restaurant, and like open mics were still slowly coming back, and then it was like I was working at night, so I couldn't do as much, and then I just had to quit the restaurant,
right?
Because even though I was performing there 2 nights a week, I had to like get time off for like shows, and then I'm not making as much money.
Right.
So yeah, that's also why I'm working in a school, is because the hours are just better.
Yes. Built-in vacations.
Yeah.
You have a week coming up, week off coming up.
I know. I was looking at it too. I'm like, fuck.
When Christmas is on a Monday, sucks.
Yeah.
Yes. You want Christmas on a Wednesday.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's the best. That's
disappointing.
The best vacation.
My mom was like, "You teachers and your time off." I'm like,
anytime
we're
someone,
dying.
I've had people, come in and do it. If it's so easy, you come do what I do.
Oh,
and then
yeah.
tell me.
right. Yeah. Well, my mom would just say like, well, "You chose to do that,
Right.
so, you idiot."
Well, what would be? I don't. What would be another? Is there an alternative job that you could have and also do comedy?
Probably.
Like, yeah, you haven't thought about that.
I've
If
thought
you're so
about
miserable,
it.
what? Any ideas? Like,
Well, I'm busy. I'm
Yeah.
doing other stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know.
do you write every day?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Pretty much.
Do you have 6 to 8 p.m. is that's my zone. Do you have a specific?
You do that you open mics just
What do you mean open mics?
like that's open mic time in my head.
Oh, okay. Well, I
So-
don't. I usually don't do open mics during the week. I usually am writing
Interesting.
during the week, unless
He's on
it's
the
a Thursday.
tail end of his comedy career. He lived the life.
Did he quit
He
already?
was a doorman.
I
and
actually
then
So from
and
2000,
then he just expects me to put him on a show like once or twice a year.
that's basically it. Stand up is not my driving force, but I enjoy doing it.
That's cool.
I'm Mike Birbiglia.
Mm-hmm.
Like I want to be a storyteller like him. So
Yeah.
5 minutes is hard to do that. And,
I get that.
but when I'm writing, I'll write jokes, but like usually it's a script or a book or
That's cool.
something like that.
Nice.
Yeah. But it's always 6 to 8, and then I'm like 6 to 8 is writing, and then you can't watch a movie, watch the Bruins, do a fun thing unless you've done those 2 hours of writing.
Nice. I'm not
Even if it's like a page.
I'm
like,
not that consistent.
Yeah.
I'm finding my like rhythm with it again cuz before I just had so many hours before I had to be at work, so I would like go to Starbucks
Yeah.
and just write or whatever for hours. But now it's like after school, I'm like tired or I have things to do.
right.
So yeah, it slips away. And then I try to write at school, but then I'm also like, ew, I'm like talking about like this sex story while there's like a teenager like sitting across from me and he needs help with math and I don't want to help him right now. So yeah, it's weird. I'm also no, actually, I'm not going to say that. I almost revealed where I work. I don't want to do that. I don't need that in my life. But the kids, they don't, because someone the other day, I said I was a teacher and he was like, oh, the kids must like really like, try to flirt with you. I'm like, no, they really don't. And they're like, you must try to like look you up on social media. I'm like, they don't know how to spell. They can't spell my name. There's no way. Also, all kids call you now is Miss or Mister. And they're like, oh, that's like polite. I'm like, it's not fucking polite.
No.
They're doing it because they don't respect you enough to learn your name.
Well, that too. Like we had a I've worked at special ed schools where they're like, yeah, we go by Mister because we think it's. But it's like they can disrespect you no matter what your title is. Like when I was in grad school, I was giving a kid a hard time for whatever he was doing something wrong. He's like, yeah, whatever, Mr. McFuck. Like, got me there, bud.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think they would know how to spell my name.
Yeah.
Honestly.
When I worked at Westboro State Hospital, they just called us our first names.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, some teachers call me Miss Katy, and it does bother me.
I don't like those.
I'm not
the
a
Mr.
ballerina
Dave or-
teacher.
Yeah,
like,
right?
It's weird. Also, they're in high school. Like, if this was a kindergarten class,
Right.
fine. But
maybe, but I still don't like that. Even
I don't like
some
it.
of the subs do that because they have really long, hard to pronounce names. So they'll do the first name thing.
sure.
That makes sense actually.
But Miss C works, but
Oh.
also then it sounds like Missy, so it's weird.
Yeah,
It's like you
Miss
really
C.
have to Miss C. Like,
Coughlin's not that hard to say though.
it is for kindergarten.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They can't really say it.
No,
They're not very smart. So
they're not.
they're not. They're stupid. Yeah. So I'm avoiding talking about my job right now. What else is there to talk about?
That is fine.
What
So
else is there?
you talked about your introduction and Louis C.K.'s downfall. So who are among have you watched any specials recently that you've enjoyed?
He's trying to avoid asking me who my favorite comedian
No.
is. He's dancing around.
You're saying
that.
there's a bunch of them depending on the mood. I'm just asking.
I like
Most
Tom
recently,
Segura. I
Okay.
liked Ball Hog. I didn't watch the new one. I started the new one, but I wasn't really loving it.
Yeah.
I mean, like my Mount Rushmore would be like Joan Rivers, Richard Pryor, George Carlin, and then like Robin Williams probably.
George Carlin, even his last one is just so unbelievably good.
You know the last one that like he didn't really put out?
That they've released like after the 2008 one. Like 2008 was his last official one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think so.
He recorded one. Do you know the one he recorded on September 9th?
Well, I know.
September 10th?
They just deleted that bit, right? I don't think they recorded a whole special, right? Or no? I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of like it when a lot of people die. Recorded September 10th,
Yeah.
2001.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yes.
I haven't listened to his later stuff, honestly, but he's just like the GOAT for like going till he was senile.
Yeah.
I respect that.
There's a great, I think it's HBO documentary about him and how his whole writing process and just how his whole career basically. Did you watch that, Mark?
I was on an airplane and there was, I don't know if it was the same, but it was actually 2 documentaries.
Yeah.
It was like 4 hours or something.
Yeah.
And it just covered how he kept reinventing himself.
Right.
Like he was complete, and then people was like, all right, he's done.
He's done. And then he was like, oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he had his best special
it was
ever.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever see Joan Rivers? Like, when did she
Live?
die?
No.
When did she die?
2011.
Oh, okay.
I could be wrong about that year. Maybe 2013.
Stacey Kendrow, who was a guest here, stand-up comic, she actually opened for her.
Whoa, that's wild.
Yeah, that's one of her credit. Like and she worked with Joan Rivers. Like
that's amazing. No, I never saw her live. I also never saw Louis C.K. live. Not that he's dead, but
Bert Kreischer was just in Worcester. Did you like him?
I saw him at Mount Vernon the other night. He came and he took off his shirt and it was amazing. Yeah, no, it was Thomas Sargent. And
did he also take his shirt off?
He took his shirt off, and so we were all like, "That's Bert Kreischer up there." Like, no, I've never. My friend has seen Kreischer, and he did the thing like, "I'm going to this bar after," and she got a shot with him.
Oh yeah,
met him. So
like a shot or
yeah.
Yeah.
And
you had tickets to Anthony Jeselnik, right?
Yeah,
canceled.
Apparently,
not all the shows
he gets
though.
Sick like a normal human being.
Jerk.
How inconsiderate.
What a jerk.
What a loser. Get it together, Jeselnik.
I told Mark this. I like him. Like he makes me laugh. But after like 20 minutes, I'm like, okay.
I love him.
Your opinion isn't valid, Dave, because you're not a real comic, as they say.
I'm fake.
I love Jeselnik. Yeah. I love Thoughts
I know
and
what
Prayers.
you're talking about. Like people have a
good.
rhythm, and like for some people that can get on their nerve. Like Gaffigan definitely has a rhythm. Yeah. He's so funny, but I could see people getting sick of it after like 40 minutes or something.
A couple of years ago, I slowed down with it, but everyone's like present I kept getting them was tickets to see a comedian with me. And I went to see Gaffigan with my mom, and he came out and he did a whole new Hot Pockets routine, and it was awesome.
A new one?
An updated one.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was like his encore.
More Hot Pockets material. Like more than what he did before.
Yeah, like it was like, now they have new Hot Pockets, and he was talking about them. It was awesome.
That's insane.
I saw him, so Comedy Connection used to be in Faneuil Hall.
Mm-hmm.
Do you even remember that?
No.
Okay, exactly. I saw him there and met him after.
Wow.
He was big. Like he had one special, I think, at that point, or maybe two albums. But he would just hang out. He was just standing there as everyone exited. And I was like, "Oh my god, you're like here!" Like
that's so cool.
Yeah. I saw him there. I saw Brian Regan there.
Oh, nice.
Way back. Yeah,
you did crowd work with him, right?
Yeah. Brian, I told Mark the story. I saw Brian Regan. I'm like even a little bit closer than we are, and there was this guy next to me that was the obnoxious laughing, like just loud laughing, to the point of like, how is Brian Regan even like continuing?
Right.
And I was like, after the show, one guy come up, he's like, "How did you deal with that?" And I was like, "I'm a special ed teacher. Like my tolerance for dealing with behavior is way high." But during the show, so this is 2003, The Red Sox had just lost to the Yankees in the playoffs. And without even thinking about it, he's introducing a joke, and he's like, so I was watching the baseball playoffs last week, and the entire room just like silence, and he's like, what is he couldn't figure it out. And I'm like, just say the Yankees suck. And he wouldn't say that. He wouldn't say suck. Suck is like, he doesn't swear. He wouldn't even say suck. So he goes, oh, it has nothing to do with that. I think the Yankees are a very undesirable team.
Wow, he wouldn't say suck?
Right?
That's so interesting.
Right?
Even he's my favorite comic, by the way.
Brian Regan?
Yeah.
Huh.
No one asked. Thanks.
Well, I don't get sick of his rhythm, Dave, after 20
He's
minutes.
He's one of my favorites.
Yeah, he's great. Even Seinfeld says ass now, so.
Yeah.
Damn. Brian
Do you like
Regan.
Seinfeld?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
Show,
both.
comic, both.
Yeah, I like both.
Comedians in Cars with Coffee.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. I saw his special and I almost turned it off because I was like, this is so slow. But like, he picked it up eventually, and I loved his like. He did it on a couple late night shows. He has like 5 minutes on food, and it's like buffets and stuff.
Yeah.
I thought that was great. He did. I don't know.
He was in Worcester not 3 months, like 3 months ago, like a year ago in September, and I saw him. He was really good.
Yeah.
He was talking about the Queen had just died, and he was talking about how now when people die, like you want to be the person. Did you hear? Did you hear? Did you hear? And like
so
everyone
good.
knows because oh yeah, I know. Like
one of the coffee shops he did on that Comedians in Cars
is right on Shrewsbury, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Brody's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the one he did with what's his name?
Aziz Ansari. Yeah.
Aziz Ansari. Yeah.
So I met Ian Matthew Sargent there just
to do your own version of it.
Yeah. We didn't film it though.
Oh, come on.
That's funny. Yeah, I like angry Seinfeld. I like when he's mad on the show. I think that's funny. Like on Comedians in Cars. I mean,
Yeah.
When he starts talking shit.
He does not pull punches. Like he tells you exactly how he feels.
Yeah.
That one where Bridget Everett's on and he starts going off about one.
I don't think I've seen that.
Oh my god, you
I'll
have to watch it.
Okay, I'll go.
I
home.
watch it
Doesn't
all
say
the
or
time.
They
bleep the name.
Yeah.
And he gives so many hints. Like he says very specific stuff, but like
So he's talking about someone but doesn't name?
Yeah, they bleep the name, and he's like, I don't like that person, and just
who is she a comedian? I don't
Bridget
know her
Everett.
name.
Yeah, she's like a cabaret style comedian.
Okay.
Like she's
would I recognize her?
She's really big and fat.
Okay.
I don't know.
But you know
White
who
lady.
he was talking about though, right?
Who? Because I've seen a couple things. Who was it?
What was the guy's name?
Oh, he was talking to her about someone else.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Now
the
I
guy
get
in
it.
Police Academy that did
the sounds,
like the like he
the sound effects guy.
The other guy that had like a really
Bobcat Goldthwait.
Yeah.
That's
I've
who he was
seen
talking
that.
about?
I've seen like theories that's who he's talking
and
about.
so I think he looked down on that as a gimmick or you know.
I mean, everyone has their delivery method. I mean,
Plus,
like Andrew Dice
I
Clay.
think-
That's that was a character.
You have to watch it. He also says like the guy must have said something disparaging about Seinfeld because he says like he's like I don't know. You have to see it. It's so good. He goes off about this guy.
If you say one bad thing about a comedian, like most comedians hold that grudge forever. Like
for sure, especially publicly.
Thank God, Boston
Like, we all-
comedians don't have any drama
Yeah,
like
there's
that.
no drama
we don't
in
talk
Boston.
shit. I said to a student the other day because they were like saying something. They were like, I don't care. I'll say what I want. And I was like, and the teacher was like, you can't like just talk about people however you want. Like that's not how it works in the real world. And I turned to the kid and I'm like, I love talking shit. It's one of my favorite activities, but you need to learn who to do it with.
Right.
You can't talk shit
Right.
about everyone to everyone. You need to have your good friends
Yes.
that you know you can say certain stuff to. Like that's just the way it works.
I've had similar conversations with the first graders, but it's not about talking shit. It's about being silly. I'm like, I love being silly, guys. I but you have to pick and choose the times to be silly. But their just brain can't, like, it hasn't developed enough to know. Oh, I can be silly here, but I can't be silly there. It's just, I want to be silly, so I'm going to be silly. Like,
yeah, I felt like I wasn't good at like getting the kids to calm down when I was in elementary school sub, I was better at like hyping them up like a party
Yeah.
clown.
Oh yeah.
The teacher would come back in and she'd be like, "Whoa!" And I'm like, "Sorry, I started being goofy with them, and now I don't know how to turn this off." I'm good with children, but I don't know. I don't know if I can be around them forever. My family's very big, so my mom and my dad. My mom's one of 8. My dad's one of 7. And on my mom, I don't have many cousins.
How many siblings do you have? Siblings?
2.
Just 2.
So on my dad's side, I have 1 cousin. I don't know. It's just, I don't know why. There's just 1. And then on my mom's side, I have 22.
Whoa.
Yeah. So like, and they're all older because my mom's the youngest.
Okay.
So I was like, we're like, all 3 of us are like the babies of the family. And my cousins started having kids. Like some are like older than my brother and like us. But yeah, so I've always been around kids, so I'm good with them.
Yeah.
Like one time my friend was babysitting and she's not good with kids and she doesn't babysit often. And it was like her little cousin. She's like, she won't stop crying. Can you come over? And I was like, sure. And I came over and I was like, just let me hold her for a sec. Let's see, like maybe bounce or something. And I held her for like 10 seconds and she stopped crying and she's like, it's me, she hates me.
It might be, I mean,
and I'm like, no, I'm calm,
but that's what it is. So
and you're not.
That's why I
you're
try to,
anxious,
right? That's why I try to tell the people I work with is like, if that's what you're bringing, if you're bringing anxiety and like, oh my god, energy to the kid, they know that. Like,
right.
I think kids better than adults pick up on what we're,
for sure.
and that's why kids are good with me because I'm so comfortable.
Well, that's why I'm bad at it because I come in angry every day.
Freaking job.
Yeah, and like I hate it. I hate you. They know it. They get it.
Can we turn that around to be I'm thankful?
Maybe.
I'm thankful that I have a job.
Maybe. I don't know. They should be thankful they have me. Are you kidding me? They hired me, those
right.
idiots.
They should be.
Yeah.
But you also have like thankful.
No, I don't.
I'm just saying. If that's what you want.
I don't know. I don't know what I want. Like,
that's step number 1.
Yeah. I guess.
So, speaking of what you want, you could headline any comedy show. You're the headliner. Where do you want to perform, and who would you like to open for you?
Everywhere.
Yeah, well, like, what would be your...
I don't know, Radio City Music Hall?
in New York?
Everywhere. Yeah. Gillette Stadium? I don't know.
Could they do... Have they done stand-up in football stadiums?
Yeah, that's a good question. Have they had anyone at Gillette?
I'll do it.
Not at Gillette.
Just wait.
Yeah.
My opener would be Mark.
Someone really easy to follow. And
my feature would be you, Dave. And then Bert Kreischer would be my third opener.
I have opened for you, right? Didn't I go before you
on your show?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but you were like the host. Oh my god, do
you host? Have you ever hosted? Do you like hosting?
I've gotten better at hosting. Same thing.
Yeah.
I hate it too, but I've gotten better at not bringing my anxiety to hosting because I hate putting together a show and it just stresses me out. And then I'm hosting and I'm like, this sucks. I have to like worry about the door.
That's why I have someone host.
That's
I pick a host.
Yeah, that's right. So you
did
didn't
not
host that.
That
was Ian.
Yeah.
So Mark had the show and it was wonderful. Like everyone was having a good time. They were laughing. I go up, did great, whatever. Then there's like this couple in the back corner and they're talking and it was really irritating me. And like Mark's running the show, you know, he doesn't want to tell paying customers to quiet down. And I'm like, can I go tell them to quiet down?
Please.
Because I already went up.
This was one of the most amazing things I've seen.
And so I went up to them and I was like, excuse me, I'm so sorry for interrupting. I'm sorry. But if you want to talk, could you go upstairs? Like, you can talk, but like, just could you go upstairs? Because like, we can kind of hear you. And I was really nice about it. And the woman was so drunk and she was like, oh my God, you were so funny. And I was like, thank you. And the husband's like, what? What'd you say? And I was like, you can go upstairs if you want to talk. And like they took it.
And they did.
They did, yeah.
You told me this. You told me this.
I told her.
So you told me this,
people,
and you told me
it's a Jedi mind trick.
No,
she basically told them, "Get the f out of here."
And
they thanked her.
Exactly. So
they
thanked her.
They did. They're like, "Thank you so much. Have a great."
You told me this story.
What drunk lady is cooperative when you tell that? I don't know what said exactly, but
exactly.
I
You
know,
told me
it
that,
worked.
and I said I bet she was really nice. Remember?
Yeah.
You said I don't know what she did, but it worked. I said
It
I
was
bet she
really
was really
nice.
nice about it, and said, look, you can do this or you can do this, but she was
Yeah.
nice about it, and
Yeah.
that's what happened. Yeah,
It worked. It was awesome. But I don't think I ever would have had the guts to do that if it were
Before.
my show.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Right.
yeah,
If
and
it were
I
my-
did not.
Right.
I had the
No.
guts to do it
'Cause you-
because
And if you had been like, no, don't say anything, I wouldn't have done anything. Like, even the other night when we were at Blackstone, there were these two people who kept talking, and they thought they were being like fun and like a good audience because
Yeah.
they were paying attention,
right.
but they were just talking.
Right.
And I was also sitting right near them, so they were really irritating me. And I had to like talk to Thomas Sargent and be like, I shouldn't say anything to them, right? And he was like, no, you shouldn't. And I was like, and I shouldn't go on stage and talk shit to them, right? And he was like, no, you shouldn't.
And then
I
you
was
did
like,
both
okay.
of those.
No, I didn't. Because I asked Ian, I'm like, can I tell them very politely to stop talking? And he was like, no. And I was like,
really,
okay.
why?
He said something, he's like, they're fine, like they're not that bad, or like whatever. And I was like, okay. Because they were laughing, but they were just like, they would just be like, I don't know about that. Like, just
After a joke.
Yeah, like not yes and
Right,
just
right.
like, oh, you should see mine, or
Right,
like
right.
it was just, and that's the thing is they were making other people laugh, and that annoys me more than anything. I'm like,
Okay.
you don't have the fucking guts to get up there
Right.
and actually write and tell jokes. You
Right.
just want to chirp in the fucking corner. But I had something written, and I might use it one day, and I'm like, look, I don't go to where you work and greet the people at Walmart for you, so I don't know why you're doing this to me.
That's good.
Yeah.
I haven't seen you do a roast bit just from this interview and just what I know about you. I could tell that you're probably really good at roasting, like
I'm 1 and
just
1.
the anger. You got the Seinfeld.
I know.
Is there a roast battle coming up in Worcester? Did I
Yeah,
see
are
a
you
post
on
about
that?
No.
The 29th or
Is that- yeah.
27th
After
in
Christmas.
at the
I'm
Vernon.
Is
I'm one
Brendan on
one
that?
and one
Someone's
with
on
a
that.
roast.
Brandon
I do
Baxter.
like a roast. It's a fun writing assignment, but it sucks when you lose in the first round. I lost to an 18-year-old kid.
Uh,
Yeah.
Oh, you did a roast battle?
Yeah, I've done
Oh.
2. I'm 1 and 1. So I won 1,
Oh.
and then this kid, I was like, oh, I'm gonna beat him. He's, he's got dyslexia. I'm not gonna.
You're too
let him-
cocky.
I know. And then he went up there, and this was his big opener. He said, Katie looks like a line cook at Hooters. And it was just that slow burn
Yeah,
of like people slowly realizing it was like,
Yeah.
and the place went wild. And I was like, fuck you.
No
man.
recovery after
No,
that? Yeah.
no. He won right in that moment, and I knew it. And I was like, fuck. He's 18,
You should have said.
so I didn't
you
want
said,
to
Did
like.
you say he was dyslexic?
Yeah.
Dyslexic? You should have said, but he's 18 and dyslexic, so he probably thinks he just licked instead of killed. Something like that. Messing up a word.
Maybe that would have worked.
What did you say?
too much of a thinker. Dave.
Yeah.
I forgot.
Yeah.
But I remember I felt like I didn't have as much to talk about because he's 18.
Right.
I didn't
That's
want to
what
like make fun of the fact I'm like, oh, you fucking virgin. Like, I don't know. I don't want to talk about a child like in a sexual way. I don't know. It was just weird.
Yeah.
So yeah, I lost.
He didn't win though. Did he win the whole thing?
He got pretty close.
Oh wow.
He made it up the ranks. I like helped
I mean, it
him.
takes-
He's
I
still doing comedy. Who
Yeah,
was-
he's in Chicago.
Oh, I
Owen
know who you
Damon.
mean.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I don't. To me, roasting's like a whole other animal.
Yeah,
Totally.
it's not for me. I don't think.
Yeah.
I get super anxious. I'm gonna say something over the line. And like
I just
Hurt-
don't like
hurt.
insulting people. I don't know. I just like insulting
because the
people in a
roasts that I
joking way.
grew up watching on Comedy Central were vicious. Like
The celebrity
And so-
ones, you mean?
yeah, and so
but
that's-
those are roasts. Those aren't roast battles.
so that's the style I would write a joke.
right.
And
of course.
I'm like, oh, I don't think you can do these anymore.
I
This is post Louis C.K. I don't think. you can say
I
that stuff.
I roasted a guy and he was overweight, and I said the last time he's been on top during sex, the Twin Towers were still standing. And it did really well. So I don't know. I think there's fun ways to say stuff that's not just like, oh, he's a fat piece of shit.
Do you ever
Like,
watch?
If it's clever enough,
Yeah.
people laugh at just the image of it.
Do you ever
Yeah.
watch Between Two Ferns?
Yeah.
Was that?
Yeah.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah.
The outtakes are actually just as funny.
Oh yeah,
because
so
they
good.
do laugh. They
Right.
don't like.
Yeah.
You're like watching that. I'm like, how are they not laughing? Oh, because they did it 3 times when they did laugh. Like,
Yeah. That actually wasn't even after the joke. They had to just get a image of him like standing there, not laughing.
Yeah, I mean, comedy. It's kind of cool how it has so many forms and so many, like, even stand up itself. You have different types of comedian. How would you characterize yourself?
Oh, I don't know.
Storyteller or
No, not really. I don't know. I'm always trying to think about what kind I am.
Yeah.
I guess it's like semi-observational.
Yeah.
I would say, because it's not all about me,
Yeah,
but it's definitely not like one-liners or
right.
Have you tried various styles? You've pretty much stuck to the same type of stage persona.
I've tried different things, I would say. I mean, I've definitely tried stories. I think stories are hard to like do,
Punch up.
especially at an open
At
mic.
5 minutes, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was like you'd see Gaffigan would go on Letterman and do 5 minutes about just donuts. And that
Yeah.
would later be in his special, you know,
Yeah,
so he
yeah.
could try out a thing that would later
Right.
be in a special.
Yeah. It definitely mixed mics help with like being able to do a longer set, I
Yeah.
would say. And even if they don't like it, sometimes that's funny. I have a really horrible story that I sometimes will just have in my back pocket. Like if I'm dying up there, I'm like, you know what, this is for me. You don't like me, you're not gonna like this. But I'm going to enjoy it, watching your faces react to this true story. One time a guy came up to me after, he's like, that's the best fake story I've ever heard. And I'm like, unfortunately, it's a real story. But when someone left gum inside of me. So,
People,
yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
I don't think we have time for that one.
No, he's a dad now. It's fine.
People have asked me that, though. Did you really have Crohn's? Did you really have brain cancer? I'm like, yeah.
Really?
Those
People
are true.
question that?
When I worked
fucked.
at the Doherty's, yeah.
I
Like,
think
during
people
your
just...
act
No, on the way
or
out.
after?
I think people just always assume that we're lying about
Yeah.
all of it, which is funny because like I really try to go out of my way to be honest.
Yeah.
I think it makes it funnier.
Yeah, I mean, exaggeration's one thing and fabrication's another.
Yeah.
Right.
Like I had one joke before where it's about vegans, and at first I was telling it like I'm a vegan, and it kind of worked for a little bit, but then people would be like, are you really vegan? I'm like, no. Like a friend of mine was like, oh, you're vegan now? And she's a vegan. I'm like,
got excited.
"Fuck
She got
that."
excited.
No. Yeah, started, like,
yeah, she's like, well, come
licking
over
her
and make
lips,
meals.
yeah.
That's so
Oh my
funny.
God, we can hang out. I'm like, no, I'm not eating your green shit.
I think it's okay to make like one step, like if you know someone, because like I think it was one of, you know how Gary Goldman did all those tips.
For that was COVID
I
actually
think-
when he did that.
I
It was
think it was
amazing.
him.
It
It
was a
said
daily
one-
tip a year for a whole
I think
year.
it was one of his, maybe it wasn't him, I don't know, but it was like, if your brother did something, it's funny if you say
I did it.
Like
Yeah.
if
yeah.
it's, like if it's your cousin, it's like, it'll be funny if you say your brother, or if
gotcha.
it's your brother, it's funny if you say it was you.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
the closer you make it to you, the funnier it is,
And more genuine it seems.
So
yeah.
I think it's okay to
I mean, people are
co-op
laughing.
a family or
Right,
a close
right.
friend
Yeah.
thing.
Well, and people are always saying, "Oh, like last week or whatever," but it didn't really happen last week.
Exactly.
it was last year or it was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
like
I do that with my dentist joke. I'm like, I
Yeah.
went to the dentist this week.
yeah,
And I also think it's okay if you make up a story that your daughter was a victim of a terrorist attack. No. What was the Hassan Minhaj thing? Was that what it was?
is that what he did?
Or that his daughter opened a letter with anthrax or
Oh.
something?
He lied
But it
about
never-
something.
but it
I
never
couldn't
really
tell if you were
happened.
talking about
Oh.
him or Brian Williams there for a second.
Oh, when he said he was in the war and he wasn't.
Yeah.
That was ridiculous.
Famous liars.
Yeah.
There's a line.
Well, there was the
somewhere
actor.
is
when
my
the,
point.
Well,
but
there
I
was
don't know
the
what it
actor
is.
who said he
Yeah.
got attacked and really didn't. Right. I forget what his name was.
I think the more serious the lie, the word like, obviously if it was brain cancer or something like
Right.
that, it would be bad. But if I say I worked in a prison,
Yeah.
nobody gives a shit.
Yeah.
That's not true.
And it's a funny joke.
Yeah.
You didn't?
No.
But he knows
Liar.
me. He knows me who did.
I don't
so
have
that-
enough street cred, obviously.
Yeah. I could see you working in a prison though.
I
Yeah,
would
I
not
believed
last a
it.
day.
Wow. The more you know, I guess.
Well, Katy Coughlin, our hour is up, if you can believe it.
Flew by.
For our thousands and thousands of listeners, do you have a website, a link, a handle?
Check me out on Instagram. It's Katy_Cough. That's KATY_COUGH. I'm also on Facebook. That's Coughlin, COUGHLIN. Again, it's Katy with a Y. Don't follow me on Twitter. There's nothing good there. I have one YouTube video out. If you want to give that, I don't know what my username is. Probably like 12345 username. So I don't know. Go to the Instagram, check out the link tree, buy tickets, come see me.
Thank you so much for being a guest.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome.
It was fun.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, bye.